With the opening of the Project Pride, we invite you to travel together with us through cities and countries of the world to meet Kazakhstan people there, learn more about their life. We will go on a visit, we will plunge into their work, we will work to their favorite corners of the cities they live in. But the main thing is that we set out on a journey to be inspired by their success. After all, the heroes of our program are bright and interesting people, and every story, every acquaintance is a swirl of impressions. They say when you live abroad, the mental connections with your homeland and the craving for your roots intensify, and perhaps the of Kazakh people and friends is a vivid confirmation. And today, we are on a visit to the bureau of the chairman and founder of this association, Berlin, Irishev. 20 years out of 25 years of independence I have lived in France. And of course, I was working officially on an official position. I did not leave. I was sent here. I held the post of advisor with diplomatic rank, the extraordinary plenipotentiary advisor. I completed my work in 1992, but in 2000 the president offered me to return to the post of advisor. From this post, I left here. Berlin Irishev, Kazakh economist and diplomat, doctor of economics. He was born in the village of Jibek, Kostanay region, on May 9, 1945. Author of many books and articles on economic topics, international expert in the field of economics, an affiliated expert of many international economic institutions, member of the Musketeers Association, president of the Association of Kazakh People in France. I wanted to use this independence on my own to continue my experience here. I'm an economist, and this gave me the opportunity to participate in commercial projects, especially in matters of investment. It's not commerce, it's not trading, it's a higher level of financial management. And we worked on big projects, oil and gas projects, energy projects, banking projects. Banking projects for me were more familiar. My work was very successful, and I worked with French companies. Also in Kazakhstan and in Russia. And at the same time, I continue my scientific activity, cooperate with universities of France, speak at conferences. And here in France, I'm considered to be one of the experts on the Central Asian economy, the Kazakhstan economy. 3 years ago, there was a very interesting meeting of the Ministries of Economy and Finance. I looked at the list of participants. All experts on Kazakhstan were going there. World Bank, International Monetary Fund, organizations, French experts. I wanted to listen to experts to hear what they have to say about Kazakhstan. But the script was written in such a way that the presenter said, "Here is an expert on Kazakhstan among us today, let's start with him." It was unexpected. I just came to listen to what others have to say, but of course, I expressed my opinion. However, one of the most striking chapters in the personal history of Berlin was the creation of an association which now, sorry for the pun, is associated primarily with him. This is Association of Kazakh People in France. More and more you can meet our compatriots abroad. The reasons are varied, of course, but among these reasons, 89% of people who decided to test themselves, to take advantage of this freedom, to taste it. And these are people who are ready to take risks or even some deprivations. It's very hard, first of all, to get a job, get recognition. You cannot work without documents. That means you need to get documents. People who risk very much. Even I was surprised. Once I met the financial director of the largest corporation in Kazakhstan who joined our organization. I was very surprised. There is no point in telling the story about how our compatriots support each other while living in other countries. For us, this phenomenon is just as natural as it is customary. Another thing is to bring this work to the system and lead something that will not bring any money or other material profit. For 7 years of work, the association has developed a style of work, ready-made solutions for typical situations, but most importantly, it has a reputation, respectability. Then there is a need for advice, how to be, what to do as soon as possible. And so there was a need to create such an association, and I invited my friends. There was once such a moment that finally pushed me to such a decision that it's necessary to create this kind of community. The Jiu-Jitsu team from Kazakhstan stuck here in France. Remember the time when the flights were cancelled because of the volcano somewhere in Iceland? At the time, I was stuck myself in Amsterdam. When I came back, they called me. We have been at the airport for 3 days, we have no money, the team cannot fly out. I said, I understand everything, I just came back myself, I sympathize with you, but you should call the embassy. Circumstances for the national team of Kazakhstan in Jiu-Jitsu were then very difficult. Weekends in the embassy, difficulties with communication, lack of money, and most importantly, the opportunity to fly home. Tired and hungry athletes were on the verge of despair, but of course did not give up. It would seem that everything was against them, but it was the story that became a critical impetus to the creation of the association, and now remembered only with a smile. I say no, we must go to the airport and help them out. And here people do not have money at all. The team that won the gold medal and silver. Later, certainly I understood why they didn't have any money. Well, no one was going. I had to go and help them out. Buy them some food. They were very hungry. I say, but how will I find you? They say, you will find us very quickly. There is almost no one at the airport, and we're the only one who sleeps there. We have a Kazakh flag, and because of our flag, we cannot be expelled from the airport. Of course, I went there to see them. We figured out how to help them financially so they can stay there a little longer. And then they flew away. Later, I received an appreciation letter. Every good story must end well, and so it happened. And then the proverb is remembered. Every cloud has a silver lining. Well, I cannot do the same thing every time such problem arises. Often they turn to me if someone gets seriously ill and they need an urgent help. And then I decided. It was 2010, and in accordance with the laws of France, we registered our organization, and for 6 years we have been expanding and expanding. An organization that does not have a commercial basis, it attracts more and more people to it. They are all ready to help each other, especially to newcomers, simply because they're compatriots. Today, there are about 200 people in the association. You know, I don't have such as subordinates, because we all do our work in association on a voluntary basis. No one has any salary, because we had the task to create, unite, and for this, we should not have created obstacles. We have made a conditional €30 fee, and in 6 years we collected it twice. It's the price for one lunch, so here there can be no talk about the fact that someone gets profit here. I'm very grateful to the first staff of the Bureau, Christina, Timur and Guljan, and then 1.5 years ago, we changed. Now the main staff consists of Milena, Evgeny and Dilara. They work great, very dedicated, and they have very good idea of different issues arising here in France. Most importantly, they know how to solve them, and each of their responsibilities they handle impeccably. Better than I expected. I'm happy about it. This is such an enthusiasm to help people, and everyone tries to contact them first in case of any problem or question. I myself suggest them first. He remains the heart of this big united family, Berlin Kinjitaevich, easy to communicate, always ready to help, full of stories and tales.
Нам повезло, что в Париже у нас наша ассоциация является
I think the association has a great future because, to be honest, we're expanding. I don't know how to evaluate it from the point of view of Kazakhstan, but I personally assess it very positively. People who came not because they escaped, but because they wanted to rise to a higher level, and now are members of the association represent such great value for Kazakhstan, because they work in the largest companies in IT, in the banking sector, the oil companies. These are people who already have great value as specialists. And once, if Kazakhstan will need them, it can invite them, and if not, they can use their advice as experts. Thanks to the presence of our French people, even Englishmen, we feel stronger than the embassy. What is the embassy? This is 10-12 people. They do not have such a fullness, such breadth, such depth as we do. Our people have more information than ambassadorial people. I tell you this definitely. The peculiar family spirit of the association is also evidenced by the fact that even if one member leaves France, he doesn't leave the French association. Our members of the association who stayed here after a while, for example, leave for another job in another country, and they remain members of the association because we still have correspondence. They do not need to renew their membership fees. They stay with us forever. In Paris, Berlin, Irishev had been living for more than 25 years, and he chose this city consciously for life. He speaks about it with love, and so to write with our Parisian friend to his favorite places is a pleasure. I wouldn't call them my favorite places, by the way. I have to say, once there was one TV crew and they asked for an interview. Here they drove and shot a segment about the Triumphal Arch. Then I hear the favorite relaxed place of Berlin, Kizhitayevich, the Triumphal Arch. If someone hears that, they will think I'm crazy. On the Triumphal Arch, how can one rest there? The one way one can enjoy oneself there is to climb on it, to spit on the heads of the careless Parisians. By the way, this complex arch is an intersection of the vehicle pour in and pour out. I never saw an accident. This is a very complex intersection. Well, as we have said, no matter what we were talking about, the conversation somehow invariably returned to Kazakhstan and Kazakhstanis living here in France. We have a motto, that life is where there is unity. We had to unite in order to support each other. In the information plan, it's the same. People who come here for the first time always need advice, knowledge of the elementary things in France. And this association makes it easier for newcomers to go through the adaptation period and so on. From all points of view, it was a very sensible idea to unite together, sometimes to celebrate our joint holidays, events, family events. We had several weddings. We had our girls who got married, and there was one gentleman who married a French woman. Many supported us. I'm very grateful to all my compatriots who supported this idea, quickly joined together, held the first organizational meetings, elected bureau, and the most amazing, I will say, we did not have any financial goals. Paris and the day lights are like two different cities, only one thing remains constant. At any time of the day, you have a chance to get impressions, regardless of whether you were looking for them or not. Today there is a parade. Now, what are motorcyclists called? In any case, they're accompanied by police and the ambulance. This parade of bikers stretching for many kilometers was dedicated to the approaching Christmas. Spectacular scene. Thousands of Santa Clauses, snow maidens, and simply dashing, non-ordinary characters filling the streets of the city rushed past us with noise. However, Parisians are accustomed to it. There is always something to wonder about and just look at.
Moi, mon Pont-de-Ruche, c'est pas celui des plumes d'autruche. Moi, mon Paname, c'est sans bison et sans diable. Mon père Richard, quand tu lui serres la paluche, ça sent le trimard, la misère et les drames. Viens donc un soir avec moi te piquer la ruche, dans un petit bar du boulevard de Ménilmuche. Tu le connaîtras jusqu'à l'âme, mon Paname. Tu l'aimeras jusqu'à la lie, mon Paris.
These restaurants here each have their own great history, rich history, because they are 100 and 200 years old. They are present in the works of famous writers, composers, because here the history was created. The history of France and Europe 100 and 200 years ago, and even earlier. Of course, over time, even a city like Paris changes, and yet there is still something left of the city about which Hugo, Balzac, and Stendhal wrote. Something imperceptible that it's difficult to describe, but you will feel it for sure. Well, there are favorite places in Paris, and there are enough of them, but it depends on what time of day or year. In the summer, there is nothing more beautiful than the embankment of the Siena, where you can go for a walk, of course. Siena is generally gorgeous. On the coast, there are so many interesting things. Especially, I know some second booksellers. When I come, they politely greet, offer to see new things they have. Once it was so amazing to me that I saw my own book that I published in 2014. And it had some of my writings that I wrote with my own hands. The book was called The Crisis of the Euro, Global Risks. I was very surprised how did book dealers get such a book. The guy turned out to be a descendant of immigrants from 100 years ago. We had a very good conversation. And the book was handed to him by a Frenchman whom I gave this book in exchange for his book. Well, he does not read Russian and he gave it to him. He sold it. And the book went price. For how much? He then called me, said, they took your book for such a price. Similar stories in the city are not uncommon. Paris is a kind of an open-air theater. For now, the doors of cafe are always turned to the street, like an auditorium to the stage. Sitting in a cafe, you can watch a love drama, a famous actor, amazing people, or become a part of a show. It's hard to predict. Where will your adventure come from? In Paris, every corner is historical in one way or another. For example, behind my back is the Canal Saint-Martin, where the heroine of the immortal film Amélie liked to play ducks and drakes. And we're here in the apartment of one of the creators of this film. Nevertheless, today we're talking about a little different story, the story of Kazakhstanis who conquered this city. A big concert that was dedicated to the anniversary of independence of Kazakhstan and became one of the brightest events of December 2016 was of course organized by the Kazakh People Association in France.
Joie et de bonheur. Mesdames et messieurs, permettez-moi d'y bas.
Well, we came up with this idea after we returned from vacation. We spent our picnic in September, and on a picnic we talked about how to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the country's independence. We are here because of this independence, thanks to this freedom in our country, our independence. And we had to somehow express our attitude. Unofficial, not affiliated with the embassy or with anyone. As always, the project was born almost on bare enthusiasm, but it wouldn't be our people if they were not in a hurry to respond to the call and did not find a way to implement any idea. The project was very large. My colleagues doubted that we would be able to gather musicians, and the most important question was how to deal with them on fees, because usually the fees are very respectable. We sent our musicians whom we know, with whom we communicate, a letter. The first reaction was they voiced their cost. 5,000, 10,000. Well, naturally, they deserve such a price, such a fee. And in order to avoid discussion with each one of them, I sketched one short letter. I called it, and I explained of the concert. I wanted them to understand that with this, we show our appreciation of the independence. Thanks to this freedom, we live now in European countries, and we're successful in our independence. It's not like we wash cars or handing out some sachets. Everyone found his or her own path. And what was surprising to all the musicians here, they answered right away. Free to perform for free. No one refused. Even those of our artists and musicians who live in Switzerland, Germany or Italy feel part of the association, the family of Kazakhs, of friends. So that means the association found its path, and they agreed in the end on how to organize the event. The price was nothing. This was one issue. We closed the issue of price with the memo. It was important to coordinate the date. A lot of time was spent. In the end, we agreed. The financial aspect is one, but the second side is also moral. If we dedicate such a concert to such a date, also related to our freedom and independence, it was important to express our attitude, positive attitude to this. I'm grateful to all our artists for being so free to express their attitude. And one of the most precious parts of the evening was perhaps dinner in an informal atmosphere after the event. The French who came to the Vinecore restaurant that evening were fortunate enough to hear the best operatic voices and magnificent works performed simply for the soul, for a close-knit community, without pathos and even without accompaniment. And at the same time, warm words were spoken about the beloved Kazakhstan that raised these talents, to the association and personally to Berlin Irishev, whose energy and talent of the organizer once again rallied this pride. How does this person remain so full of energy while doing everything at the same time? Travel, work, and write books. It is necessary to be present all the time in Kazakhstan. I think it would have been hard if it was like before, no internet, no WhatsApp, no Skype. There is such a word as Nobel Prize. I think it would be great to give this prize to the creators of WhatsApp or Skype, because thanks to them the world has become one. Communication happens in real time. You can be present in the situation in Kazakhstan, France, United States of America, and so on. In spite of living decades in Europe, Berlin Irishev remained a Kazakh. There is no doubt about it. And yet it would be nice to check it, right? When the emblem of Kazakhstan like this came out to my Swiss colleague, he said, "Why do you represent our cross?" He perceived that this is a Swiss cross. We it, and it was difficult for him to explain that this is not a cross. This is a musical instrument. By the way, I have it over there, kobus. How should I look at this one? This is our TV tower in Almaty. This is a yurt. This our emblem, snow leopard, and the emblem of the city of Almaty. Well, this one is difficult. It's close to women's portrait. Yes, women's portrait. No, it is a woman. I started to see something else. This looks like a mustache, but it's a falcon. The test for nostalgia was passed successfully, and not only because Berlin Kinchitaevich remembers his roots, but also because he protects them. And it's because he often visits his homeland and always with great pleasure. What does he dream about today? What goals does he set for himself? And what is happiness for him? What would you wish if you catch a goldfish? Well, first of all, I need to ask if it speaks Kazakh or not, and send it back to learn the language, and then we can talk. What is happiness for you? Happiness, once again, I will say, is freedom and independence. This is the happiness that you need to take advantage of. If there is no freedom and independence, there will be no happiness, of course. What trait of your character you are proud of? Designating goals and achieving goals. What is your own trait you are shy about? It is in the for President of the Kazakh People Association and France and the international economic expert not have enough time. Sometimes I don't have enough time to read books, spend time with my family and children. And for what you wish you had more courage? I don't know, I don't have courage for, I don't even know. I don't know what to say, it's hard to even come up with something. What is the favorite day of Berlin's Irishev week? Wednesday, because the influence of Wednesday on Thursday is very important. Well, what is your favorite hour in the day? 5 in the evening, 5 o'clock, when you can sit quietly and have tea. This is an English tradition. I always try to set up meetings at 5 with people whose company I enjoy, and so on. 5 o'clock. And finally, where do you see yourself in 20 years? In 20 years, it's hard for me to predict. Well, in 10 years, I would like to see this association as a strong association that will attract our compatriots of Kazakhstan all over the world. And it should be Paris, because there is a bust of Mustafa Shokay, who fought back in those years for freedom, for the independence of Kazakhstan. And there are many other reasons, because Paris is generally the capital of the free world. In the future, I think we will expand. As you can see for yourself, the plans and ideas of Berlin Irishev are grand, and he has a lot of followers. So everything will certainly work out. After all, what it's like to experience the support of our compatriots, having found ourselves in another country, we experienced personally tips and invitations to visit, help with contacts and valuable acquaintances, holidays and business meetings. A visit to Paris under the hospitable wing of our people was not just comfortable, we almost felt like home. Born nations became a kind of motto of this unforgettable acquaintance. Now Paris for us is Berlin. Well, the program Pride continues its journey in order to acquaint you with our compatriots whose stories inspire, the success charges and charisma attracts. Until new meetings and new amazing acquaintances on Kazakh TV, yours, Alevtina Madiarova.